This is my second night using the plan in the Seestar app. I want to show you step by step how I went about creating my plan. I think it's an easy way. Maybe some of you have other suggestions on easy ways to do it, but this is going to be my second night of using the plan in the Seestar app. So I first open the Seestar app. I am not connected to the Seestar itself. It's just the app is open. The Seestar is over across the room being charged. It's not even turned on. And so I open the Seestar app and I click on Plan. So when I click on the plan, it opens up last night's plan. And if you watched my first video about last night's adventures, you'll recognize this plan. But it does save the plan. You could duplicate it and do the same one tonight, or modify one or two of the objects, or modify all of them. It will duplicate this into the next plan if you want it to. So at the bottom of that screen where it shows my past plans, there's a red button that says create a plan. We're going to click on that and create a whole new plan. Once I click on that button, it brings up the screen where it allows me to name my plan. And I've just been naming them by the date that I'm going to run them, just to keep them straight and know what they are. You could name them anything you wanted, up to 50 characters. I haven't tried using any special characters or anything in there, but it'll tell you if it won't allow you to save it. But I'm just going to use the date with no commas or anything. So now you see I typed in January 18th, 2025, and then I'm going to click that confirm button, and that's going to save the new plan and allow me to modify it. Once I click save, it brings me back to the map, and it has a little red square there so I can search around and find an object. And then at the bottom half, it has an old one, my last one that I searched for, in there, but that doesn't mean it's in my plan. The plan would show up below that in this black box rectangle at the bottom. This is a tool that I've been using, but I haven't really mentioned it before. I'm not an affiliate or anything. I just use this Star Walk app on my phone. I just find it easier to find objects than the star map that's in the Seestar app. It lights things up a little different, and I can find things a little easier on there. I think there is a 7-day free trial or something, but it costs like $5 for the whole year. And so I just subscribe to that, and I use that to find the objects. And then it's easier to find some that are in the sky, visible to me, and higher in the horizon, or whatever needs I need to avoid, neighbors or lights or mountains or whatever I need to avoid. I just find it easier. So that's something you may want to look into, or you can use the star map itself. I'm going to show you how I use the Star Walk app as we go along. You could do the same thing in the Seestar map as well. This is a look at the Star Walk app once it's opened. And the reason I like it is over on the right-hand side, you see that green box that is opened up. It's just a little icon, but when I click on it, it opens up the bigger box. I can change the time of the day, and I can see things rotating on their arc path, and then I can zoom in closer. I can click on objects to see what they are. I just find it easier to use than the one in the Seestar. So that's what it kind of looks like when you log into this Star Walk. So one of the biggest advantages with making my plan in the Seestar using this Star Walk app is that little scale over on the right-hand side that is now lit up in green. I can slide that, and it will actually move to the time that I want it to, so I can see what is available at a different time So it works out great to do the plan because I want to film things as they are available and not get my neighbor's street lights or their chimney. So this is a little bit closer up look at the Star Walk app. And you see in the top right hand corner, I've changed it to 7 p.m. on the January 17th, 2025. And I can change that within 10-minute increments, or maybe it does 1 minute, I'm not sure, but 1 or 10-minute increments, it will change the time and you can see things following their rotation paths. So at 7 p.m. tonight, I was able to locate the California Nebula, and I have it highlighted here in green just by clicking on it in that Star Walk app. And then I can click the little eye that's right by its name and enlarge that and get more information about that object. Now that I've located the first object I want to put into my plan, that California Nebula, I toggle back to the Seestar app and I click on the little magnifier glass in the top right hand corner labeled objects. Once I click on the objects button, it brings up this search box. I just tap in that search objects dialog box. Once I click on that dialog box, it opens another one with a little magnifying glass by it, and I type the number of the object I want to see. You can do it by name or number, even slang words or titles for the object. So in this box, I typed 1499, which is NGC 1499, the California Nebula, and it comes up top on the list. So I select the top one in the list and it brings up the next screen with the little target bullet on the right hand side next to its name. And then I'm going to click on that little target button on the right. So once I click on that target button, it brings up the star map in the Seestar app. And you can see in the middle of that red box is the California Nebula. And you do see that it's too big for that little red box. And so we're going to do the framing and use the Mosaic mode on this one. So we click on the framing button and then we enlarge that red box. We don't really need to rotate this one. We just need to make it bigger so the whole thing will fit in it. Once we're satisfied with the size of the box and the rotation, we click anywhere on the screen outside of the little sliders at the bottom, and it brings us and makes this dark again. And the framing box is still green because we are using the framing mode. This will do the mosaic imaging. Now on the bottom half of the screen, we see the object. I click the light pollution filter on the right-hand side, and then we can see the arc and travel of the NGC 1492 in the night sky. So at 1900 hours, a little past about 2000 hours, it is at peak. And so the little red bars appear and then we can slide those to where we want to start recording this item. So I'm going to image this one for 2 hours at the peak of its pinnacle of its height in the night sky for me. And then once I do that and I'm satisfied with the time frame I've got, I'm going to click that check mark in the bottom right hand corner to save that to my plan. So now I'm ready to get the second object for my night plan, and I go back to the Star Walk app. I change the time in the upper right-hand corner to 9 o'clock p.m., and then I locate the next object that I want to image. So the next image is NGC 278. It's a spiral galaxy. And if I click on that little eye right next to its name, it's going to give me more details about what this object is. And I can see a bigger picture of it. Now I can see a bigger picture of that object with a little description of what it is to make sure it's something that I want to image. And it is. So now I toggle back to the Seestar app and I click on the objects in the top right hand corner and it brings up this search for objects box. So I type 278 up there in the search box and it brings up the top found suggestions, and the top one is usually the one that I'm looking for, and it tells me that it's a galaxy, and so I'm going to click on that one. So I click on it to select it and it brings up this list with the bullseye to the right hand side, and I click on that bullseye and it will take me back to the star map. The star map shows the object in the little red box now. This is a small one, so I don't need to do the framing and use Mosaic Mode. It doesn't show the path of its existence in the night sky yet because I haven't clicked the add button. So right there on the right hand side, you click that add button and that's what puts it down in your nightly plan. Once I click add, it puts that object down in the plan with its arc. You can see that this one is a little bit low in the sky, so it might be a risky one for me to try since I'm kind of down in a ravine with neighbors higher than me. But I'm going to try it anyway. I'm doing all of the objects tonight for 2 hours each, so we'll see what we end up with. This one is a little bit low, so it is maybe a little risky to use, but we're going to try it anyway. So now I toggled back to the Star Walk app and found the next item I want to include in my nightly plan. I click on the little information circle by its name so that I can get a picture of it. I wasn't sure if this was just a star or a galaxy or what, so this is what it looks like, and it looks kind of interesting. So I toggle back to the Seestar app and click on the objects in the top right hand corner to bring up the search for objects dialog box. Do my search for 404. It comes up as the top one in the list, and you see right under it, it does list it as a galaxy. Sometimes things contain the same name and number, so you do have to be a little bit careful, but the majority of the time, it's the top item in the list. I select the one I want, and then the bullseye shows up on the right-hand side. That's basically the go-to button, and it will take you back to the star map with this item in the red box. So when I click to add this one, you see that it kind of overlaps the same path as a previous one, about exactly the previous one that we did. And so this one, by the time I could add this as the third object, it would be below the horizon. And so I don't want to include this one. And so I just click the delete button at the bottom. What I realized is I forgot to change the time in the Star Walk app. So it was giving me an earlier time. It would be above the horizon. And so that was my fault for not changing the time. But all I had to do was click the delete trash can, and then it asks if I want to confirm and delete that target. It just deletes that one target. So now I want to find another object. So I go back to that Star Walk app and I change the time this time, and I look around for another item that I might want to image. So I come across Perseus A. I have tried imaging this one in the past and it hasn't been very brilliant, but I think what I'm going to do is add this one and then let it run for a longer period of time than I've done in the past and see if we can get anything that looks like this, because I think it's gorgeous. So I found my next target, go back to the Seestar app, click on the objects in the top right-hand corner, and it brings up this search bar where I'm going to type in that object. There it is right in the top, and so that's the one I want to select. It's that top one. Once I select the one I want, that little target go to button on the right appears, and I click that to go back to the star map and add it to my plan. So I click the add button, and then I can set its time down in the plan for the evening. Now I repeat the process and go back to the Star Walk app, change the time, and locate the next object that I want to image. I click the information icon so that I can learn more about this object, and that one looks pretty cool. I go back into the Seestar app and click on the Objects button in the top right-hand corner, and it opens this search box. I locate the item and select the top one. Once I make sure it fits into the framing box, I click Add to add it to my night plan. It has a really good position in the sky. It's a lot higher than the last two that I added, and so I'm going to do this one. I'm also going to remember and turn on the light pollution filter. I don't remember if I did that on the previous ones, but I'll go back and check and make sure that it's turned on for those other objects as well. I go back to the Star Walk app and locate the last object that we're going to add to our plan, and it looks like a galaxy as well. This is what the information button tells me about that galaxy. So I go back to the Seestar app, click on the Objects button in the top right-hand corner, and do a search for that object to locate it. It's right there at the top, so I click on that one and select it. Once I've selected it, that target go to button appears on the right hand side, and I click that to go back to the map. Back in the map, I click the add button and it puts it down into my plan, and I can see its trajectory in the night sky, and I add it. So here's my plan for tonight. There are 5 objects. There are 2 of them that are kind of low, so I'm a little worried about those ones and whether or not they'll be visible, but we'll give it a shot. So here's my plan. I may execute that one tonight, I'm not sure. And then I will post the results of what I got so that we can see how it turned out. I did resolve a few things since I posted the first video about setting up a plan in the Seestar, and so I don't have any little gaps in between the objects. If there are gaps, it will take a break and not image during those times. But I was able to figure out that a little better and get those lines to line up so there shouldn't be any gaps in time. So now I'm going to wait until just before 1900 hours, and I will put the Seestar out. I will attach batteries to it to keep the Seestar internal battery charged at 100%, and then before I go to bed, I'll replace that external battery with a second one that is fully charged, and it should help it last all through the night, and then we should finish imaging around 5 o'clock in the morning. Once that happens, I will post the pictures of what I captured and then share it with you online. If you have any questions, let me know. We'd love for you to follow our journey and subscribe to our channel and support this kind of content. And we'd love to hear your experiences with the planning in the Seestar as well. And also, if you do decide to use that Star Walk app, I'm curious if you enjoy it like I do. We don't get any kickbacks or anything from it, so it's just up to you whether or not you want to try using that. Okay, it's been a couple hours and we started our plan, and spoiler alert, we ran into some technical issues, and I wanted to go over them so that other people will know what we encountered and learn from our mistakes. It's not a Seestar or a plan mistake, it's user not being smart about their plan mistakes. So let's go over those. So I started seeing a lot of dropped exposures for star trails or not enough stars, kind of stacking errors. And so I wanted to go in and run the autofocus and see if I could get it to kick back into gear. And this is the error I got. The operation was prohibited. I couldn't just click stop and then go in and autofocus and resume it. So in order to do anything, I had to stop the plan. When I went into the plan to see if I could figure out any other options, I noticed that it stopped stacking the images when it passed the apex line of the image. And so I'm guessing that that's the problem, is that the image is too straight up in the sky, and so it's not stacking those very well, and so it's dropping a lot of those exposures. So I'm going to wait until the apex passes, and then I'm going to resume the process. Once I stopped the plan, the little box around that object turns red, and then the restart button appears. And so it's nice to know that I can just resume the plan once that time passes. And that is my plan, is to wait for the apex to pass and that object to come down under that dotted line that it's above, and then try resuming it. At any point after I stop the plan, I can restart the plan, and this is what I get. Is it's asking me to confirm that I want to restart the plan. So I was just experimenting with some of the things that are available in the plan, like resuming it. And I tried resuming it, and then I got this error that the the object was out of range, and so it couldn't find it. And so I got that error, and that makes sense because it's in that high part of the apex. Once I clicked resume and confirmed that I wanted to resume, it would turn green again, but you'll notice that the rectangle is red, and that's because it can't find that object at this point because it's above that dotted line in the plan. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's, just a little bit down where the apex of the object is. And so I'll wait for that to pass and then try resuming it again. So I clicked on the little icons to the right or the left of the plan, and it opens that box and it shows that it was a failure on that first image. And so I can see what's going on with the plan as it's going. I do want to emphasize that this is not a problem with the app or the Seestar or any part of the planning. It's a user error. I put in the plan an item that goes too high in the sky, and so it can't track it efficiently because it's right at the peak of the zenith, and so it can't track. The stars are rotating too fast. And so it's a user error, not a Seestar or a plan in the app problem. Since I had stopped the plan and have to wait for it to come below that zenith and the apex, I took an image of what it had finished before it stopped stacking those images, just for record keeping and to put in this video so that you can see kind of what the process was and what happened. So last night everything went flawlessly, and tonight I think we might encounter some problems, which is probably good because that's how we learn and explore things in the app and what capabilities there are. And so I'm glad that we're having some challenges tonight, but it is user error, not anything to do with Seestar. Um, I think we're going to have some problems with the next two objects. They may be too low, and I'm down in kind of a little ravine, like I think I've mentioned before. And so there are houses above us. And so I may end up with the next two objects not being able to be found at all because they're just too low. So we may have some challenges tonight, but every challenge is a learning opportunity. So here we go. So I waited until the object went below that dotted line, and lo and behold, it is now imaging again. I think if I had left it imaging, it just would have kept having stack fails until it could, and then it would have proceeded through the process. Um, because I stopped the imaging to go and figure out what was going on, it will resume like it's starting from the beginning again. So it's not going to add on to the previous mosaic images. It's going to start all over again because I had stopped it. But I think if I had left it running, it just would have had stacking errors until it fell below that line and could visualize it again. And so that's something to be aware of. This picture shows the before and after the problem that we had with this image. It didn't have enough time after it resumed imaging to finish the mosaic, and I'm not surprised. But the picture on the left is the mosaic before it started having problems, and the picture on the right is the mosaic after. And so you can see how the mosaic kind of works on the pictures. There was a question of whether or not the mosaic, if I set it now, would it adjust with the rotation of the image 6 hours from now? And it looks like it does not. We can do some more testing on that, but it looks like it doesn't. So you'll have to plan your mosaic for where it is in the night sky at that period of time. I'm not entirely sure I'm explaining it all properly, but you can send me questions if you do have questions. But the picture on the left, if it were to finish that mosaic, it would be the California Nebula and basically be situated like California would be. If the mosaic on the right-hand side finished, it would probably cut off part of the nebula. And so it wouldn't even be all in the screen because that field of rotation moved the mosaic, it actually moves the nebula to a different rotation, and then the mosaic I set hours earlier did not adjust with that. This is another problem I noticed because I had stopped the plan and then resumed the plan. It didn't do another autofocus. And so everything was out of focus. In order to fix this, I had to actually stop the plan again and then go in and find the object and start imaging it and then autofocus and then stop that and go back into the plan. So it was a little bit of a challenge. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was probably just because I had stopped the original plan that had autofocused in the very beginning. But this is something to maybe also test to make sure how this works and to resolve that problem. After I went in, I stopped the plan and I manually went into the object and autofocused it. I was able to resume the plan and it stayed in focus. And this is showing that resuming and more in focus. All right, so it's the next morning. The Seestar has done the plan, and this is what I woke up to. That second battery pack did keep the Seestar battery at 100%. One thing I did change this time is I did not turn on the anti-dew heater, and so it didn't use quite as much battery, and it apparently didn't get quite as cold, and so the external battery kept charging the Seestar and kept it at 100%. You notice that the open arm button is there, which means that it had closed the arm after it finished. And that's something you want to remember and not have anything on your Seestar that's going to impede that arm closing. So we already talked about the first image and the problems that we had, and we learned a few things. This is our second image. I was pleasantly surprised because I thought for sure this object was going to be too low in my sky with my situation here, but it found it and imaged it for the entire 2 hours. And this is what we got. The yellowish object on the left is the galaxy. This one would be a great one for post-processing to add some color and define it a little bit more, but I thought it turned out great. I was pleasantly surprised with this one. The third object in my plan started imaging right before I went to bed, and so I was monitoring it on my Seestar app, and I clicked that object identifier, and wow, look at all of those objects in that one selected area. And so I know that this one is going to be a difficult one because it's fairly small, and identifying it between the others will be difficult. I want to note that I did no post processing on any of these images. The only thing I did was enlarge them so that we could see them or make them fit into the screen so that they were more visible. That's the only post processing I did. And this was that image that we just did. This is our next one. It's NGC 2841. It's a galaxy, and it turned out pretty nice too. This is what it looks like. You can see some field rotation in the top and bottom corners, but we can crop that out no problem. Here's our next one. It's also a galaxy, and it turned out great. This one would be an easy one to do some post processing to bring out some color or enhance it. Um, Even like it filmed pretty good. Um, this one didn't have as much field rotation in it. It's always a risk if you're recording over about an hour to get that field rotation. Our last object was a little bit small, and so by the time I expand it out to fit the screen, it's pretty blurry. This one, we could do some post-processing and probably get it to look like a galaxy, but it would probably need more exposure time, um, and a little bit more work in the post-processing to make it look like we would want it to look. So that is our day 2 of working a plan. We did resolve some issues and learn some new things about how it works and some of the hurdles that we could run into. I hope you enjoyed this kind of content. If you do, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. That helps support the channel. Thanks for watching.